Okay, I'm ready. Greetings. Aquava, greetings. I apologize, family. We had a little technical difficulties. For those of you who are still with us, thank you for being patient with us. We will start again. My name is Sister Reshima, or Reshima in English. I am coming from Cincinnati, Ohio, and on June the 17th and 18th, we will be welcoming two of our great mentors and elders, Baba Wekesa Mazimoyo and Ina Afia Mazimoyo of the Aya family and the Aya Educational Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been a homeschooler for over 20 years, and for the first time, I reached out to the community for help so I can do other projects. And I didn't feel comfortable with my children being any other place besides Aya. I have been very impressed with the school for a very long time, and I admire the strength and the willingness of the teachers to give their all, who continuously work on themselves, their families, and within the school for the betterment not only of themselves and students, but all of the community. I'm very grateful for the IFM. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thank you very much for your selfless acts of generosity and care, and putting your family's life on the line and giving your full energy to the upliftment of our people globally. And so we thank you and we welcome you tonight.
Guapa, thank you so much, Medasi Pa. So glad to be here. So glad to be on your show, and so glad that you're coming to Cincinnati, to your hometown, to share again what Aya is and what we stand for. And in this case, also to start off the weekend by elevating those local heroes and sheroes who've been doing the work, who've been putting in the work to lift the African community. So to me, no better way to do that than by using the Araminta story, her warrior healer story, builder story, as a way to help commemorate and lift and those warriors, healers, and builders in the local community. So I'm excited about coming.
Thank you so much for praise. As you've stated, we will have this program on Friday. The Friday program will be honoring our local heroes and sheroes. We will give honorable mention to several community members, but the three awardees will be Akoben, Brother Cadence, Sister Okosua. They have been keeping up the African Liberation Day tradition here in Cincinnati, bringing the communities together to work together as one. They are also doing works with, as far as Cincinnati RBG, they are also doing works in Ghana, West Africa, as well as Tanzania, Clean Water projects. And we are very grateful for their family and their son Sekou, who is always with them. So we would like to acknowledge them on that day. Another honoree is Brother Leroy Shabazz. We are honoring Brother Leroy Shabazz. He's a beekeeper. He also helps train the young brothers in the rites of passage. He is a member of the Nation of Islam. And what he is being honored for the most here is his work with emergency management. If we are not able to fend for ourselves and take care of ourselves in a time of crisis, then we are in great trouble, my family, really and truly. We have seen over the years that we are mistreated and disrespected in this place. And the perfect example for us to reflect upon is Katrina. And so had we had these type of trainings, this would have been very instrumental for what we faced at that time. And I say we because one of us cannot go through tribulations alone. We are all in this together. So if one of us is suffering, we're all facing some level of suffering. So we're grateful for Brother Leroy and his works of pushing us forward to get that kind of training. And the next honoree is Mama Adina. Mama Dina Israel. Mama Dina Israel is a soft-spoken, wonderful hero. She is an elder who is homeschooling her children. She's a drum major. She's plays drums. She's volunteered in the community. She's given her life in the fullness for the community, and we are very grateful for her energy. Whenever she enters the room, you will feel her presence, and she has always been such a beautiful, humble spirit. And we are grateful for her existence on every level that she has shared with us. And I am honored to have the ability to honor her. this day. So these are the three main honorees. We will also be honoring an elder, Baba Ojinga. This is the community coming together for that.
Would you repeat those for me? So I want to type them for those people who are coming in. Would you repeat those?
Yes. For the local community, we have come together. We're going to acknowledge several community members, but as a whole, as a community, we are doing a special honoree for Baba Ojinga, who has kept us connected with Mother Africa in the drums. He is a drum master, so to speak. He doesn't like to be called that, but he has taught drum and dance for decades, and he has been on the radio providing us with conscious information for decades as well. Yes. But for the Araminta Award, the Warrior Healers Builders, we have 3 selected honorees for this program, and that is Brother Cadence, who is Brother Akoben Kwesi, and his wife Apostua Kwesi, and their son Sekou. They have 1 son, so we are honoring them as a whole family. And we have Brother Leroy Shabazz, and we have Mama Dina Israel. Those are the 3 honorees for the Warrior Healers Builders on Friday, June 17th at the Lions Den Community Center.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are so honored to be able to lift and help recognize those people who do the work, who put the work in. Baba Ojinga, Brother Akoben Kwesi, his wife and son, Brother Leroy Shabazz, and Mother Adina. To me, that is fantastic. And so, you know, to me, a steel sharpens steel, they say. To have Araminta, and for us to know and learn how much of a warrior she was, and a healer she was, and a builder she was, what it says to me is that those people that you named, they are continuing doing that work. And it's important for me that we make a connection between those who've gone before and those who are presently continuing to do the warrior, healer, builder work that we need to do in our community. For us, it's a really important focus that we begin to focus our community on those 3 kinds of activities. And there are many different things that you can do, or we can do as we are warriors, challenging people, policies, and practices that oppress and aggress on our people. And that's what we mean by warrior, those people who've been actively challenging people, policies, and practices that oppress our people. And while we fight, we also have to heal, because we're wounded. We're wounded people. Some of those wounds have come down my family line. They've come down your family line. They've come down our family lines. They've come through our brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and people that love us, as well as the injuries that have come from external oppression. And it is our job to heal it. Our oppressors won't, and can't. It is our job to do that. And those people who do this work to help heal us, not only of our physical ailments, which are very important, and those people who help to heal us of these psychic wounds of oppression that show up in our hurting ourselves and hurting others, that show up in our not trusting ourselves and not trusting each other, that show up in our conflicts and an inability to have our organizations work together to their fullest. So this healing work is so important. And for those people who are being recognized for that tomorrow, to me, it's fantastic. And you'll be surprised how Araminta had to also heal herself. And if we don't get Araminta healing herself, we don't get the warrior Araminta. We don't get the building Araminta. She had to go through a healing process. And that's something that, of course, that's not known about her. So we're going to illuminate that as we also lift those people in the Cincinnati community who, in fact, are doing the healing work that we need. And then last, as we fight and as we heal, we also have to build. We still have to build families just like we are. We still have to build communities. We still have to build cooperatives. We have to build businesses. We have to build schools. We have to build movements to defend ourselves. And so we have to be warriors and healers and builders. And it's a tall order. And those who pick up that banner, those who will be lifted tomorrow, those who you heard Mama Reshima talk about, and you'll hear them and get to meet them and get to lift them up tomorrow. Excuse me, I'm saying tomorrow. See, you see, I'm already there, Mama Reshima. I'm already there. On Friday, and to me, it's an honor to be there to lift them up. It's an honor to participate with them, and it'll be an honor for me, for the community, to come out to show their love for these warriors and healers and builders.
You've actually touched upon a lot of my questions. Actually, you've kind of summarized them up. One thing I noticed, and one thing I love about Aya, is that it's a family, and you have always moved as a family. And you and Mama Afia do not look the ages that you've told us. So we would like for you to tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, so we can know who you are, the people can know who is coming to their town, because we know you to be great mentors. We know you to be our elders. We have claimed the victory in that. But some people are saying, you know, well, who are these great people that you're speaking of? You know, what about them? So please let them know some of the things that we enjoy about you as far as your journey with Mama Afia over the years.
Oh, thank you so much. I am 61 years old. I'll be 62 in November. Mama Afia is younger, not a lot, but younger. And you'll get a chance to meet her. She hails from Alabama. That's where I met her, the love of my life. We've been together for 30 years together, and 28 of those we've been married. And so, what else about me? Well, my journey started, I'm fortunately a child born during a revolutionary period in our history. And I was born in 54. And so I'm 10 years old at 64. I'm 15 years old, you know, right at the height of activity. So I participated at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, in the kind of work we were doing to take over the Chancellor's office to demand a Black Studies program. And fortunately, we were successful in getting a Black Studies program. We were successful in helping to begin to shape that program. I was a part of that committee. And actually, I taught the first course as a graduate student in the curriculum of African American Studies that still exists there at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. My background has been attitude development and change and African American Studies. And I put those together because I wanted to know how could we change our attitudes and behavior. Not when other people changed and not when the Lord came or whatever, but how could we use the resources we have now to change? And so that's been my life's journey and work. And it has led me to develop Aya Education, led us, me and Afia, to develop the Aya Educational Institute, which serves adults in many capacities, and it also serves middle school and high school students because we have to keep preparing the new generation. I love teaching that age because it also lets me know what's being put in their heads, what's being put in their minds. And it's really important that we stay connected to the youth so that we know the impact of commercials and television and the whole social system, and we are able to work to help correct that where it needs correcting and lift it up where it's wonderful. And so so we bring a background that's old. Afia she was a part of the movements in Alabama, Selma, Alabama, the marches that you hear about. Her family helped to feed some of those marches. And so she's been a part of fighting. Her father was a revolutionary, and which is why I was clear that she and I would really make it, because she admired her father, who the Klan had tried to take out a couple of times, and they were unsuccessful. He was a strong man and a shotgun toting man, and she admired him, and so I figured that we might make it. And boy, have we done so. She's been a powerful partner. She's an administrator. She's a teacher. She has a master's in sociology herself, and we've been partners back to back. You know, we work together, we clean together, we fight together, we heal together, and so part of what we bring to Cincinnati is experience working with our people, building institutions, working with our people, actively challenging oppression. And we have made it our business to study how we've been wounded and how to heal. We've made it our business to study how do we teach in ways that heal, not just teach a subject, but how do we teach a subject in the ways that teaching of that subject makes me a better warrior. I don't care if it's mathematics, I don't care if it's science. That is, every subject that we teach is designed to make me a better warrior, healer, and a builder. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't need to be taught. I'm just plain and simple. So part of our work has been to figure out how to do that. So we had to create our own institution. I was a principal for the first charter school in Georgia for a time. But a charter school can't hold what we were doing. It's still a public school. We still had to adhere to certain kinds of things. And we wanted the freedom to create what needed to be created, and not just have it on paper, but also to put it into practice with parents and families and students. And we're glad to be able to say that we produce powerful results for those students who attend. But it's a misnomer to think of us as a regular school, because the whole family attends. Okay, it's not just the children in the family somehow got it, because many of the things that we teach, I didn't learn as an adult. I had to teach myself. So I know a number of parents don't know some of the things. And so we'll talk, more specifically about that. But who we are is we're caring Black couple that's been about doing this work. Our Healing Oppressions Wounds work is 20 years old. We're in Chicago for over a decade. We're in Washington, D.C. for over a decade. We're in Atlanta metro area. And what I mean by that is that we have people who've gone through our training, who embraced the warrior, healer, builder, or Healing Oppressions Wounds tool set for their relationships, for their business building, because business is just relationship. Okay, and the tools apply whether you're talking about an intimate relationship, you're talking about a familiar relationship, or you're talking about a business relationship. And so there are for over a decade in those places and longer here in Atlanta, we have communities of African people doing work in our community. Now, it's not television work. Okay, it's not on the news kind of work. It's also not a lot of bashing work. Okay, it's working. It's doing the building, creating the foundations for it. It's doing the healing. Okay, and it's actively challenging people, policies, and practices. And it's okay for us that because I'm with Gil Scott. The revolution will not be televised.
Actually, I'm grateful. That is one of the things that I've loved about Aya, is that in this society, we haven't had the ability to control our images. And so, therefore, the youth have been led astray simply by a lot of images. There's not a lot of images that portray positive Black images, and you don't see Black families. And so one thing that I've loved about Aya is that you dug deep into the minds, into the consciousness of the students, both middle and high school students. And they have produced work, material, they're able to converse, they're able to write, and they're able to solve problems on a collegiate level. And I'm very proud of them for that. And I'm very proud of the Aya staff and family for those accomplishments, because this will not only prepare the children to go out into the real world to deal with their peers, but also with adults, because really and truly, real talk, a lot of adults, we haven't gotten that type of experience. Like you said before, we weren't taught these things in school. On this side of the globe, we're faced with the reality that we haven't had our own rites of passage in a village setting. So therefore, we haven't had training on how to be a Black man, how to be a Black woman, how to treat one another as Black men and women. And to be honest, we haven't even had proper training on how to be elders, and there's nothing to be upset about. We just have to face that reality and come forward to deal with this level of healing. So right now, I would like to ask about the importance of embracing who we are and facing and healing from oppressive wounds and distorted memories that was also taught in the schools this year as IN Educational Institute, and it really helped. It helped the students to think about things of not only who they are, but who all they have to represent. In the case of distorted memories, there's an example of, for example, a dog may, unless he is raised knowing that he's a dog, he could grow up thinking that he's a cat because of his environment, what has been injected to him, what has been shown around him. He thinks he's just a little kitty cat. You know, he doesn't know he has a big bark and a big bite. He does not know the fullness of what is in him, what is in his DNA, the fullness of who he came here to be. And so please, if you could elaborate a little bit about the effects that we've had and what we are going through, ways that we are suffering because we haven't addressed these things as we are going through issues mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And again, these are things that keep us from being a family. We keep talking about communities, but in order to have communities, we have to have families. It's families that make up communities. And so, again, thank you for being an example of a family, and please show us ways that we can follow these examples. I know I said a lot.
No, I got you. Thank you very much. And I'll start where you ended in terms of part of what makes us family is shared history, okay, shared stories, right? You can have 20,000 people in a stadium and you don't have a community. You certainly don't have family because they're there and they're there to see an event. They're all in the same place, but they don't have shared history, okay? They don't have shared culture. And so having family and becoming family means having a shared history and a shared culture, a shared story, and a shared vision in terms of an outcome for the future. And so what's to answer the other part of your question, I want to, about the distorted memory, I want to tie it in with what we're going to be doing on Friday, and then also what we're going to be doing on Saturday. Because on Friday, we're going to be honoring locals by telling the Araminta story. And many of us love Araminta, Harriet Tubman. For some people who don't know what we're talking about Harriet Tubman. Her name is also Araminta. And many people love her, and we don't know her story. Not really. You know, we don't know, that she came from a family of 11, and her mother was rebellious. And as you were talking about, if you don't know that you're a dog, they think they've been raised to believe they're a cat, okay, or eagle that's been raised to believe that they're a chicken, then even though they could take off and fly, they won't do it. Well, in a similar way, if we don't know Araminta's family story and the culture and the family from which she comes, then we just hold her as some super person that's out of touch, that we can't duplicate and we can't reach. Okay, and so she's someone that we would be proud of, but not somebody who we know the formula so that we can emulate. And so it's really important that we know the fuller story of our past and our culture. One of the things that we studied that Mama Reshima was referring to, and that we will be doing tomorrow, doing on Friday, is correcting what Amos N. Wilson calls falsified consciousness. That is, our history or our past, our story is distorted so that it creates distorted attitudes, distorted beliefs. It creates beliefs that allow me to be manipulated because they are not authentic. We don't get to know the full power of who we are. And we don't get to know, for example, one example of that is we don't know the full power of Araminta. Not only do we not know her family story, when they said she was a scout and a nurse and a spy, we don't know that she was a commander. We don't know that not only was she a nurse, she was actually a doctor. Okay, we'll learn about that on Friday. What we're doing on Friday and what we do at AYA is to help us correct those distorted memories so that we in fact can have a present and a future that also is not distorted. And in addition to the fact that our consciousness has been falsified by European historiography, that is Europeans telling false stories and telling distorted and piecemeal stories, all right, our emotions are also falsified. And we'll get to that on Saturday from 1 to 5, and then at the brother only and sister only session from 7 to 9. So starting Saturday afternoon, and our warrior healer builder session, that is, we call it a taste of warriors, healers, and builders, because typically we use a whole weekend, okay, a Friday and a Saturday and a Sunday. So this is a 4-hour taste. At the time, we're going to learn how our emotions, as well as our consciousness, has been falsified by those distorted memories and distorted stories, and how that falsified emotional responses causes conflicts among us. So on the one level, you have a distorted consciousness from a history that doesn't allow me to be all that I can be. And on another, we have falsified emotional responses, so that when we try to love, when we try to build family, we fight. When we try to build organizations, we fight. Just at the time it looks like we're the precipice of success, distrust explodes all over this place. And that's because of the falsified emotions. And when you put falsified consciousness and with falsified emotions, then it's no wonder that our organizations don't build the kind of unity that we need, okay? That it's really, really difficult for our families to stay together, and for us to heal when there's been conflicts or wounds or hurt. And part of what we'll address, again, on Friday, we'll be working to correct some of our distorted memories using Araminta as an example. And then on Saturday, we'll be talking about one of the tools we're going to talk about is what we call feelings as messengers, and that is to help that distorted, or excuse me, that falsified emotional responses.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for that information. That's very critical towards our survival. Another thing is that when we look towards, sometimes we get we look at it from one point of view. For example, when we think of warriors, we don't think of our ancient traditional warriors. We jump up in that warrior spirit, but we think in the terms of soldierism, because we've been seeing more of soldiers, so to speak. So a soldier is trained to go out and follow orders to kill, to not question anything, to just kill. The orders say kill a whole village, they have to kill everything. Leave nothing behind, they have to kill everything. But a warrior had, a true nature of a warrior is peace of mind, because the warrior in our villages, they had elders that they had to be obedient to, they had families that they took care of, and their whole function was to make sure that the village was safe. So that's the whole surrounding, that's including the earth, that's including everything. So I'm very grateful how you spoke on the importance of our minds, getting our minds together, because real talk, in this society, we're judged by pubic hair. Pubic hair makes people say that I'm grown, or our society says I'm 18, I'm grown, but we haven't had training here. You know, we haven't gone through particular training to prepare ourselves for the real world. And so that being the case, we still have a lot of issues and complex. We still have issues with complexion. We still have issues with groups, you know. And so Baba Omawale, El Haj Malik, El Shabazz, Malcolm X has taught us that it doesn't matter what groups that we claim that we are. We claim we're Methodist, we're Catholic, we're whatever, that we are all facing this together. So you've spoken a lot on it already, but if you could please reiterate the importance of us coming together, because the Aya family has come to heal and work on our community, you know, and that's the focus. You haven't come and said, look, you know, this is my group, this is my religion, this is my thought, this is my process. You're looking at the whole picture, and as multidimensional beings, we have to look at things with a more holistic approach. So please, we thank you very much for your insights, and if you could please reiterate the very importance of the people coming out from all different backgrounds to share and join in this healing, because when melanin comes together, there is no limit to the great possibilities that can come forward to it. So please, Father.
Absolutely. I love that, when melanin comes together, because without melanin, there is no life. Without melanin, there's no healing. And so, and it's, to me, a wonderful opportunity. What you laid out, many times we're sad about it, that we have different fissures, different cracks in the community, different silos, based on religion, based on our complexion, based on whether you have degrees or not degrees, based on whether you're from this town or another town. And it's our work and our opportunity and our obligation to knit the unity across all of those. Yes. I want to say something that's really important, and that is unity is not uniformity. Many people, we never will get unity if we all have to be uniform. Nature is not uniform, right? The way a particular crop survives is because there are variations. And if an insect attacks one, then very often the other variations can live, and so the species continues. We do not need uniformity in order to have unity. So if we don't have uniformity and we're going to have variations, then that means we need coordination, so that we're working to the same end, we're working in the same direction. Well, our oppressor tries to make sure that we don't know how to do that, because to do that, we'll have to heal the wounds of oppression. We'll have to heal the, I don't have a degree, you have 10. Or you went to a school that was supposedly elite and I didn't. Or I grew up poor and you grew up middle class or upper middle class. Or you're lighter or I'm darker, you're louder. That is, suppressing those doesn't do it. Pretending that, well, we shouldn't have those issues if we're enlightened people, won't get it done. What's important is to develop a language and a process where we can actually let it come up and we can do the work to heal it. Again, not by just gooby dust and it's gone, okay? But by actually beginning to have some tools so that we address those wounds that have come as a result of the various differences. Because part of what you're going to learn about is what we call the S&I line. You learn how this oppressive system has made it so that all the differences that we have are often used for us to establish this kind of work. We're going to have to know that and know how we caught it, and then know how to begin to knit unity in our own families. We have light skin, dark skin issues in our families. We have who had more favor with mom and less with mom and dad. And even though mom and dad may be passed, we still have some of those old hurts and old wounds because we don't know how to address them. And mostly what we want to do is we want to preach about them. We want to tell people to just get over them. It doesn't work, okay? And we have worked over the years to develop a tool set. And on Saturday, the tool set we're going to give, we call it the Blacknificent 7. The Blacknificent 7. And that is 3 skills and 4 steps. Say it again. 3 skills and 4 steps. All right. 1 skill, circling the line. How do we take those divisive lines that I was talking about and the Mama Reshima just talked about, and how do we turn those into a circle of trust? How do we literally bend that line into a circle of trust and step inside? It takes skill to do that. We can say that we ought to do it. We can say that we wish we'd had it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what are the skills necessary to take those divisive lines and turn them into circles of trust. That's 1 skill. Another skill is to crack the code. And I mentioned this earlier, and that is our emotions have been falsified. There is a code, a script that's been written in code that has me, for example, as a man. When I'm hurt others. And that's not a natural thing, okay? If I've been hurt, then it would tend to make me more sensitive and not want to hurt others. Now, but you have this, my emotions have been falsified. The script is there controlling, so that if I'm hurt, then I hurt others. There's nothing natural about that. Okay, that's a script that's written. We have to crack that code, and that's the second skill. How do we crack the code that falsifies our learned emotional responses? I'll give you another example. You've heard the expression, "I was so mad I could cry." Well, typically, if you've heard that expression, you probably heard it from a woman, because it's socialized for women to say and to do. But there's nothing in a woman's DNA that would have her cry in response to anger any more than a man's. But you see, that's that falsified response. I'll give you a couple more so that you understand the importance of this skill of cracking the code, because this code directs our language with our communication with each other. It directs our behavior. What is it that has me feel good when I'm going and spending my money with other people, with Macy's or whatever expensive European establishment? I just feel good, affirmed, and I feel cheated when I'm doing business with a black person. Now, you can tell me that I ought not. That won't get it. What is that falsified response? Because, of course, you know it should be the opposite. And it's going to be up to us to crack that code that composes that script that has us do the opposite of what we need to do. So that's the second skill, that is to crack the code that controls this emotional falsification. And the last skill is to solve the riddle. I said 3 skills, okay? Crack the code, circle the line, solve the riddle. Here's the riddle. Grown men die for it. Grown women die for it. Babies cry for it. What is it? Now, we're talking about attention. We're talking about touch. We're talking about recognition. We're talking about love. And part of what this oppressor has done is manipulated recognition and what you're supposed to recognize, how you recognize. This recognition that shapes behavior is not free. The way we manage it has been trained by our oppressor so that we end up serving them. And so after we solve the riddle, we have to learn to manage what we call the river of touches, making sure that we don't go into that alien river, making sure that we separate ourselves from that alien river, which is the seat of manipulation, right? And so we call it the river of touches. You'll love it. We do. Those are the 3 skills. Again, they are circle the line, they're crack the code, solve the riddle, and then manage this river of touches. I said 3 skills and 4 steps. The 4 steps are the steps of how do you tell our story from the inside out. This is, now our students had a great time with this year. Okay, how do we tell our story historically and presently? How do I tell the story, particularly when I've had a mistake or failures or something has not worked out? I'm socialized by oppression to tell my own story from the outside in, okay, as opposed to the inside out. And there are 4 steps, simple steps. And how do we start to tell our story from the inside out? Again, we call that the Blacknificent 7. And that's going to happen on Saturday from 1 to 5. And then again, we'll use some of those tools as we have the brothers only and sisters only discussion from 7 to 9.
I'm very excited. Thank you very much for that. That was very, very enlightening. The brother circle and the sister circle is very critical for learning steps to maintain our relationships, because to be honest, even intimacy, what we call intimacy, we have learned from our oppressor in a lot of cases. A lot of cases, some women think that they're being intimate or having sex, and it's really abuse. And so these are things that plague the mind later because you're feeling bad about what you just engaged in, but you're engaging in it because this is what you have settled for. This is what you feel you have to do to accommodate your mate. But these, even intimacy, are ways that we suffer, unfortunately. So I'm very grateful that you are addressing couples because we need to go there. Someone needs to go there so we can heal and repair ourselves. Otherwise, like you said, hurt people hurt people. We will continue to get together as hurt people and birth more pain and more issues into our communities.
Absolutely.
So I'm very grateful.
Well, we're happy about that. Again, part of what's different about our Education Institute and about the work is that it is seasoned with reality. Okay, everything that we're talking about is not just some theory that we thought of someplace. It's been thoroughly tested with people and events and relationships of all kinds. And so as we work the brother and sister only groups that we'll be in, we'll get to do some real talk. See, we're one of the Mama Fia and our elders that go there. Okay, we hold in Atlanta a Black Love Day event every February 13th as an alternative to Valentine's Day and bring it up in a whole nother way. We also, it's important that we have real conversations about intimacy, real conversations about conflicts that exist in our relationships, and having a tool set that allows us to account for oppression. And again, if there's a key difference, because there are many helping modalities, and many times they're wonderful. Often, many modalities, tools, processes don't account for oppression. And how, for example, as you said, Mama Reshima, I've learned to be a man from my oppressor. Oh yes, I learned from my dad as well, or my uncles. And they also were imitating Europeans. We have to really go back to figure out and define again, what is intimacy for us? What is authenticity for us? What is a whole man, a whole African man like? What's a whole African woman like? What's a whole African family? You see, as we seek to put that picture back together, to define ourselves based on what's that like. And I don't mean just what it used to be, both what it used to be that's good and also what it needs to be now, given our situation. See, our past is not a prison. Our past is a prism. Our past allows us to see. Our past gives us strategies and information and inspiration so that we will create what we need in the present. And so we get to apply some of the tools of WHB, Warriors, Healers, and Builders, to our relationships as brothers and sisters. And you said couples, and couples are welcome. We also want to welcome those who are not coupled. There may be a brother who is not coupled right now, but wants to get it together, wants to be coupled, and wants to know how to create something different than what he's created in the past. There may be a sister who says, you know what, I don't want to see that same thing again. I want to know how to go down a different path, and I keep going down the same path. And so those who are brothers and sisters interested in relationships and making those stronger, healing, becoming fighters together, warriors, not at each other, but together, for those out there, then we certainly invite you to come on Saturday from 7 to 9, where we'll have brothers only and sisters only session. And of course, you'll get the most out of it if you also come to the 1 to 5 session. I'm so excited. We call it our Juneteenth Super Weekend. Also want people to know that we're not just visiting Cincinnati, okay? We are establishing a base in Cincinnati, as we have in Washington, D.C. And surrounding areas, as we have in Chicago and surrounding areas. And we also will be doing one in Oakland on the West Coast. And when we say Cincinnati, it's central. There's Kentucky right there. There's Columbus and Dayton, and we'll have people from around, and we're making connections in the community and with the Black Studies Department at the University of Cincinnati, with schools and organizations, because part of what we do is work to lift the community. The tool sets that we have are for you to use to make whatever you are doing more effective. I really want you to understand that, because it's not like, here, come and do this instead of what you're doing. No, keep doing, keep building, keep healing, keep fighting. And these tool sets are designed to allow you to do that even better. And that's what we're proud of.
We are very grateful for those tools, because the biggest threat is the Black family. So much has happened to us over the years. And so for us to stand up and know ourselves as a Black woman and a Black man and raise a Black family in the fullness of who we are, that is the biggest threat out there. But it's the best thing, the best tool for creation. Creation is waiting for us to step up into ourselves. I want to thank you very much for providing an outlet for many of us and for the children. Baba Kwame Ture has taught us over the years that children are going to rebel. And when they rebel, they need outlets. They need somewhere to channel that energy. And to be honest, there's a lot of people who are now adults who have graduated, so we claim, in our adult stages, but we have come from that rebellious stage. You even have children who will quit high school because they figured out that they've been lied to. They're like, what? Columbus didn't discover. What? So different things will affect them differently. And they're like, well, why should I participate when they're lying to me? So they lose their interest. So again, we want to thank you very much for providing an outlet for the children, an alternative, and reaching their minds. But also we want to thank you for coming in and giving your best, giving your all towards adults around the globe who we may not want to admit it at this stage in our lives, but we have gotten to this stage, a lot of us, through rebelliousness. Some of us have come into consciousness because we have been rebellious. Sometimes we get to teenager stages, nobody can tell us nothing. Once we reach the age of 18, that society says we're grown, nobody can tell us nothing. When we start to smell ourselves, like they say, and we start to say you're conscious, or in the conscious cultural community, nobody really can tell us nothing, And then once you have degrees and things behind our belts, again, these are all ways that we escape, where nobody can tell us anything. We put ourselves into a box, a block. I'm safe. This is it. I've made it. This is what I've decided. Nobody can tell us nothing. Thank you for being creative in ways to maneuver through those illusionary boxes, illusionary minds that have been dumped upon us by our oppressor. Thank you for being obedient to the spirits and to our ancestors for continuing these great works. So many before us. And I am so excited. I am kind of fighting back the tears, because this is so beautiful for us to come to this state right here, to this conclusion now, and about our need to heal together on these many levels. So we thank you. And
thank you so much.
I don't know if you have any more questions. You touched upon so many things, but I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. I really want the community to come out. You said it. We put it all out there. We leave it all on the floor. Again, Mama Fia and I have been doing this for a long time, and so we give our best, and that's all. And we think that's enough, and many times that is. And so we invite the community to come out on Friday night. We start at 6:30 at the Lions Den with a tribute to our local heroes and sheroes and Araminta. You'll be amazed learning her warrior, healer, builder story. And then on Saturday morning from 10 to 12, we're going to focus on African-centered education. So you'll learn more about what the middle and high school stuff that we do, education that we do, our curricular, our methodology, our approach. We call it the Aya Way. You'll learn about that from 10 to 12. And you'll get to meet probably 4 Aya students in the greater Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky area. And then from 1 to 5, again, is our WHB Warriors, Healers, and Builders session with those Blacknificent 7, those 3 skills and 4 steps. And then we close out with a brother and sister only session from 7 to 9. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you for working to make this happen. Many people don't know what has to happen behind the scenes to make it happen, but the person who's hosting this, and I'm a guest for Mama Reshima, has been instrumental in making this happen. The power behind the scenes, doing everything she can to make it happen, and I'm so grateful for you for that, and grateful for the Cincinnati community for embracing us.
Thank you for the opportunity to praise together. And before we log out, I would like to make one more pitch to the community to come on out and support yourselves. This is not about just Aya. This is about each and every one of us who live here to take a step forward towards our future together. I would also like to make a push towards the brothers and sisters around the globe. It would be wonderful to have Aya come to your community. Why? Because this is part of the steps that we need to take towards the restoration of our temples and the restoration of our communities, so that we can have villages again once more, and in preparation for our children to fulfill their destiny, which is to control or rule this planet. I don't want to say control, but to rule this planet the way that our ancestors did, as whole and complete beings. And so this is what we are living for our children to carry on the baton and take it steps further. So thank you very much for providing an opportunity for my family to grow. We have grown a lot during the year with Aya. We have learned a lot. These little ways you come closer that you don't recognize, but it's there. So every portion counts. And again, English is not energetically powerful enough for me to express my gratitude towards you, Mama Afia, and the Aya family. We love you very much. Thank you for all of the staff. And when I do speak of Mama and Baba, I do include all of the staff and you children who have been very instrumental towards the upliftment of the children in this community and securing our future. So thank you very much. We love you. We have people in Cincinnati who love you, who are welcoming you and waiting for you to come forward. Please have a safe journey to and fro, and we look forward. Thank you, Baba.
Fantastic.